Joan, thank you very much, and good morning, everybody. It's great to be back here, and thank you for the privilege of having me here on behalf of GE Vernova. So there's something different about me here this year than last year, in that I'm working for both the same but a different company. So I thought maybe I would try to explain that, because you may be wondering, what is GE Vernova? It's probably both the oldest company in this room and also the newest company. So obviously we have the GE in our title, which means we go back 130 years to the legacy of Thomas Edison, who really started the electrification revolution, which is what I'm going to chat about today. But a few weeks ago, not too far from here, on the New York Stock Exchange on April 2nd, we also became a new company, because the historic GE has now split into separate companies. We were there on the New York Stock Exchange on April 2nd ringing the bell to separate our energy assets from our aerospace assets, so I'm here on behalf of our energy assets. And so as of April 2nd, we're GE Vernova. We help produce 30% of the world's energy. It's our honor to work with every country and represented in this room today, and a privilege to be here as we work for our mission of both electrifying and decarbonizing the planet in more than 100 countries. And when we think about sustainability, it seems like nothing is more urgent right now than the imperative of the energy transition. I mentioned Thomas Edison was kind of there on day one of the electrification revolution. Now we're on a new super cycle of the energy transition. Over the last 24 months, we've seen kind of this unprecedented level of investment and interest in energy and in decarbonization at the same time. So our role is to innovate the technology the world needs to decarbonize the energy sector, but also enable energy security while we do that at the same time. And we really feel like we're in this very transformative era of action, that we're not just talking about the energy transition. Over the last 18 months, the last 24 months, we're really moving forward on it in collaboration with everybody in this room. And there's a few reasons for that. And the first has been kind of a theme already today: energy security. Unfortunately, the war in Ukraine has really been a wake-up call, not only for Europe and Ukraine, but the rest of the world, that we can't take the grid for granted. And we're very, very proud of our priority to support the grid in Ukraine, to work with Secretary Pyatt and making sure everyone in Ukraine can keep the lights on. That's core to our mission. But we've come to understand, what can we learn from that to make sure that we're investing in our energy infrastructure, that everybody has access to affordable, reliable, sustainable electricity, and we're not taking anything for granted. Whether it's a war, cybersecurity, more severe weather events, just the pressure on the grid from more demand, data centers, artificial intelligence, and other sectors joining the grid as they look to decarbonize. So energy security has really been an unprecedented driver here. The second consideration we're seeing that's kind of a catalyst for this is we've just seen a fundamental realignment between the public sector and the private sector. I think it's fair to say, historically, the private sector and the public sector didn't always agree when it came to climate change, when it came to decarbonization, even energy issues. That has really fundamentally changed. I think COP28 was a great example of this baton passing between the public sector and the private sector, where now people see that solving for the energy transition, solving for climate, solving for energy security is really a technology play at this point. And so the private sector is in the lead in terms of deploying the technology, but doing it in very close partnership enabled by the public sector. So we see all these strong policies in the United States and Europe and other places in the world that are really promoting the spirit of partnership, public-private partnership, that's enabling us to act on the energy transition. And then the third thing we're seeing, I think this was very present at COP28, is we're seeing countries think of the energy transition, of climate change, as an economic opportunity as opposed to an economic risk. I think historically with the Paris Agreement, there was always some concern by countries, well, what's China going to do? What's India going to do? What's Brazil going to do? We have to maintain our economic competitiveness. And I think we now see that countries now see participating in the energy transition, the economic development, the workforce training, as really key to their future. And so now it's become an economic opportunity as opposed to an economic risk. So all of this has been a catalyst for us moving forward to engage on the energy transition, to really deploy at a critical time. And so I'll look forward to the questions that are going to come, and maybe we can dig into some more details on how that links to sustainability. Thank you.